What's up guys, welcome back to the review space, and today I'm gonna count down the top 10 finishing moves of all time. That's right, the top 10 finishers in pro wrestling. Alright, number 1, the Canadian Destroyer by P.D. Williams. That's right. Now, yes, P.D. Williams innovated this. He used to wrestle for TNA as an X Division star, and he was a very innovative high flyer, cruiserweight, X Division wrestler. And he was known as the Canadian Destroyer, and his finishing move was basically a flipping pile driver. I've never seen anything like it before. I remember the first time I saw him hit that move, I think it was, what was the pay-per-view? Victory Road 2004, if I'm not mistaken. And it was just the most insane move ever. And I think the first time he did it, he was jumping from the top rope, or at the second rope, and then he hit his opponent when he jumped and landed on his feet, and then he did the flipping thing. It was just insane, and one of the most amazing acrobatic finishers I've ever witnessed. It's just so... And the fact that people always talk about it as one of the best, or, you know, some people think it's overhyped, overrated, but you know what? It's an amazing finishing move. You can't take credit away from it. It's just such a devastating, impactful, beautiful looking move that... And he can hit it from pretty much anywhere, you know, jumping from the top rope. I've seen him doing running. Okay, so he's running towards his opponent and then he hits it. So, I mean, there's varieties in that too. It's influenced other high flyer type of wrestlers to perform this move as well, and doing other variations of the Canadian Destroyer. So, an amazing finishing move. Number 2. DDT by Jake the Snake Roberts. That's right, the DDT, whether it's called Damien's Dinner Time or whatever else, it's an amazing finishing move. One of the most influential finishers of all time. Everybody did a variation of a DDT. Everybody's done it. I know now it's basically a wear down move. It's not really a finisher anymore, but when Jake the Snake did it, it was fresh, and it was his signature move, and he could hit it out of nowhere. He developed that style of, it can come out spontaneously, very unsuspecting type of move. It can come out of nowhere, and you just never know when it's coming. Very good finishing move, and again, very influential. Everybody's done this move. Everybody has adapted this move into another variation. Number 3. Stone Cold Stunner. Oh man, yes. Stone Cold Steve Austin, his finishing move is the Stunner, which is basically a quarter face lock jawbreaker. And some people mistake this as a cutter, but it's not. It damages the guy's jaw, and you're supposed to be dragging your opponent as you hurtle towards the ground, as you drop down, and his jaw is supposed to be like impacted on your shoulder as you clutch it. It's probably the most popular finishing move of the 90s, you know, during the Attitude Era. Stone Cold, he would hit that out of nowhere. He would, even when you saw it coming, because he would do the kick, you know, to the stomach or the midsection, and then he would strike it like a rattlesnake, you know, finishing off his opponent. And it was just such a sudden strike type of move that it was very snake-like, that it was such a quick finishing move, and it came out of nowhere. He could do it while he's standing behind you. He could do it while he's in front of you. I mean, it's just such a charismatic move. It fits his gimmick really well. And as soon as he hits that kick, you really do go nuts. The crowd goes insane, and it's really, really effective. It's so effective. Number 4. La Mística by Místico. Oh man, Místico. Well, we all know him now as Sin Cara, but during his Mexico days, he would perform La Mística, and it was such an amazing finishing move. If you could watch clips of it, go check it out on YouTube. But basically, he would sort of do a tilt-a-whirl, or not a tilt-a-whirl, those rotations that he would do was basically a lucha rotations around his opponent, and then he would finish it off by doing a kind of an armbar, like a Fujiwara armbar type of maneuver. So you have this high-speed type of guy running around. He would flip all around his opponent like a merry-go-round Ferris wheel, and then he would end it with this beautiful combination submission. You know, it was a submission move. I've never seen anything that acrobatic mixed with like a submission type of move. Normally you think of submissions as slow or very kind of methodical, where the guy would just, he would plant it when his opponent is already on the ground or something like that. But very, very amazing finisher. It can strike out of nowhere sometimes, and I just love the beautiful aspect of it. Just the very visual appeal of the move. Just beautiful. Number 5, the Sharpshooter. That's right. Oh, the Sharpshooter by Bret Hart. Yes. Well, this is Bret Hart's finishing move. It's basically just a Scorpion Deathlock, really. Sting, I know Sting does the Scorpion Deathlock, and that's a really good move, but I just always prefer the Sharpshooter more. It just matched his gimmick a little bit more. I just felt that, I don't know, for some reason when Bret Hart does it, it just makes more sense. Maybe it's because I grew up on Bret Hart and his work in the ring, but I always held a special place in Sharpshooter. It's such a good move because it's a submission that not a lot of people do anymore. Sometimes it's a tribute to Bret Hart, and some people do it as a normal submission type of move, and I know like even The Rock adapted it back in the late 90s. But I don't know, it was a good submission finisher. It just looked great, and it looked like an actual finishing move where there was an epicness to the move. Like, it felt like once he hits that, there's a very, very, very small chance of getting out of it. You know, his opponent is pretty much done. The only person that I really know that kicked out of the Sharpshooter was Undertaker back in the day. Number 6, Lariat by Stan Hansen, or as the Japanese say, Lariato. That's right. Well, Stan Hansen did this a lot in Japan, and quite simply, this is one of the best finishers of all time because it's a hard-hitting, simple move. He just basically runs towards his opponent. It's a very, very simple move. I mean, Stan Hansen just basically mows down his opponent with his hand rigid, or yeah, he hits him with his arm, and then boom, his opponent goes down. It's really all about the sell with this move. I think that, you know, he hits his opponent really hard, but his opponent also has to sell really well. But when he does it, it just looks really, really impactful. It's a highly influential maneuver. I mean, guys like JBL and, you know, guys like, I think Lance Cade, he would do this move. And anybody else who adapted the Lariat or used a variation of it basically owes it to Stan Hansen's move. And Stan Hansen, he could do it from anywhere. He had variations as well. He would do it up close sometimes. He would do it running. And it was just a legendary finishing move for its time. Very influential, and it made its mark in Japan, in Japanese wrestling culture. Number 7, the Vertebreaker, aka the Gringo Killer. Vertebreaker was used by Shane Helms. Some of you might know him as Hurricane Helms. He used it in WCW, and then it was adapted, or I don't know if he adapted it or it came around the same time, but it was used by Homicide as the Cop Killer, aka the Gringo Killer. And it was an amazing finishing move. I love it. It just looks visually pleasing, but it also looks really devastating. Like, he would grab his opponent while his opponent's kind of slumped behind him, grab the arms, twist around, and then so his opponent would kind of be like an opposite, almost like a reverse 69 position. His opponent's feet are in the air, and then he would just jump to the ground, and then it would be kind of like a reverse pile driver almost. Very visually and impactful move because his opponent would just land on his head, on the back of his neck, and it just looks so devastating. Like, if you imagine if you hit that on somebody on concrete, oh my god. Number 8, Liger Bomb. Oh, by Jushin Thunder Liger. Well, this is a really amazing finisher. I prefer the running Liger Bomb, where he would actually run from the opposite of the corner, and he would run to the opposite end, and then he would actually hit a running, what is it? A high angle sit out power bomb I think that's the technical term. Really good finishing move, very visually pleasing, and it really puts to shame any other powerbomb out there. I mean, you have guys like Batista and stuff like that, but to me that's always been kind of boring. Like, a normal powerbomb should probably just be a wear down move instead of a finisher. But the running Liger bomb actually looks like an actual finishing move. It looks very impactful and very, very devastating. Number 9, the F5 by Brock Lesnar. Oh my, you know, I love the F5. It's a great visual move, and I just love the physical aggression that it shows. Like, he would just dominate his opponent. He would just hoist him over his shoulder, fireman's carry, twist his opponent around, and then he would just throw him. He would literally just release him as he fell down on the ground. It's such a dominant move in terms of physically just looking impressive and showing off the strength of Brock. I've seen other wrestlers try to, like, I remember, like, Seth Rollins, aka, well, Tyler Black, used to do a variation of it. It didn't look quite as impactful, but I mean, it just, the way he used to do it back in the day, Brock Lesnar, that is, he would just throw his opponent like a sack of potatoes and just completely annihilate his enemy. Very visually impressive looking move. I love the F5. Number 10, and this might come as a surprise, the TKO by Mark Merrow. Oh man. Well, this is basically, TKO stands for Total Knockout, and it sort of fit his boxer gimmick because he was like Johnny B. Bad, and he was basically, I think he was a former amateur boxer. I'm not sure about that. I always liked the TKO. I never liked Mark Merrow as a character. I never liked him, but I loved the TKO back in the Attitude Era. It's basically a fireman's carry cutter. He would hoist his opponent on his shoulder, and then he would kind of twist his opponent around so his opponent's legs would sort of go behind him, and then he would do the cutter. You know, kind of like, you know, DDP Diamond Cutter or an RKO even. I just liked it. I liked the fact that it was like a kind of a twisting move, kind of like a spiral thing, and then a cutter combination. It was very innovative, and I like it. Not a lot of people do it now. I think the last person to do it in WWE was probably Alex Riley. He did he did it TKO, but we haven't really seen Alex Riley do it in a long time either. Alright, so that's it for my top 10 wrestling finishers and my personal favorites. These are my best because, I mean, these are the ones that stood out as far as a combination of visual appeal mixed with impact and kind of the practicality of the move. Does it really look convincing as a finishing move? You know, it's not too ridiculous, it's not like corny or stupid or unconvincing. Like, sometimes there's other finishing moves out there that just don't look good. They just don't look like a real finisher. Leg drop. But these moves are definitely the opposite. These moves are just devastating. They have a very climactic feel to them, basically. Alright, so that's it for this episode of Review Space. Thanks for watching, and until next time, ciao!